It's game week 32. That means it's time for our championship predictions. As always, I have my co-host. I got Mark Ryman here. How are we going on, Mark?
Yeah, I just don't know where the time's gone. I tell you what, it feels like yesterday since we're doing game week 1. There's some big old games this week, aren't there, during the week, particularly at the bottom half of the table. It's going to be feisty.
Yeah, there's a lot that could really shake up that sort of bottom 6, 7. Who knows who's actually in with a shout of getting relegated, everyone picking up form, everyone having a good time, like Plymouth. We'll see what happens. Let's kick this off with one that could have ramifications for the bottom half of the table. It's Bristol City versus Stoke City.
Yeah, it's one of those, again, that I found really difficult to call. I think neither team's been doing amazingly of late. But, I think you've also got to look at Stoke's injury list as well. Last few games have been mad, haven't they? So Stoke and Cardiff drew 3-3, I think, in the cup, didn't they? And Cardiff won it in extra time or in penalties. I can't remember. But yeah, I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Saved a penalty as well.
Oh my God!
I know.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Well, he dived the right way. I mean, that's good enough to start with, let alone save the thing. But anyway, penalty shootout hero, of course, with Luton. So let's not forget that.
Wouldn't have won it without him.
Exactly. Yeah. I've gone with a 1-1. I think both teams are in different form, let's say. I don't think either of them actually, are going to set the world alight. But I can't call it. Stoke's still in trouble, of course, down there. I don't think they'll go down. I think they've got enough about them to stay up, just about, as they often do. And I think in Robbins, they've got a good enough manager. They don't lose much these days under him. So, 1-1.
Yeah, same here. I've gone 1-1 as well. We should stop colluding. Now, Stoke's an interesting one because playing against Hull, that's a good win. That is a 6-pointer, considering this is right down business end of the table, right at the bottom. Bristol City, though, come on, losing to Swansea. Swansea are on a terrible run of form. They had lost 5 in a row leading to this one, and Bristol City, I've said it in our video where I look at who could make a run for the playoffs, and in that I say Bristol City will not make a run for the playoffs, even though they're positioned so well, because they have zero quality in that team other than Scott Twine, and they have a Naki Wells who's like 1 million years old. He's their source of goals. So honestly, I could have gone for a Stoke win here, but Bristol City, you never know if they're going to turn up. And they're positioned so well for an assault of the playoffs, but they made no signings in January either. That's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. So, to be honest, I could have backed Stoke, but I've gone for a score draw 1-1 here.
Yeah, I think there's a few teams like that. I'd put Norwich in that category as well. I know they've been doing okay, but I don't rate them as a team. We'll talk about them in a bit. But you're right about Bristol City doing interesting business, or, well, no business in the incomings, and a few players leaving as well. So, it sounds like they're sort of destined to plateau off a little bit, doesn't it? And end up mid-table. Who would have guessed?
Destined to end up mid-table. It's going to happen. Just sit back, let it happen. Right, on to Coventry City versus QPR. And just a reminder, if you haven't watched it, check it out on our channel. There's a video. I'll put it in the description below. It's who will make the playoffs. And interestingly, Coventry, spoiler alert, is one of the teams I back to make the playoffs. I am putting all my faith in Super Frank Lampard, as much as it pains me to say.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I've gone 2-0 on this one. 2-0 to Coventry.
I've gone 2-1 to QPR. I think either could win this quite easily. I mean, Coventry, two tougher results, one at home to Leeds and one against Ipswich in the Cup, so I don't know how much you read into that. QPR sort of on and off as well. You're right. I mean, Frank Lampard, since we berated him as a manager, has won every single game, so it tends to be the way. I'm still not convinced, but look, you can't really argue with the job that he's doing. He's getting a tune out of the players that weren't performing under Robin, so fair enough. And he's got a fair few back from injury now as well, although I think Ben Sheaf is still out. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
He is indeed, but they brought in Matt Grimes, so it's good.
They did, yeah, of course. I mean, that'll be really interesting to see. I mean, what an excellent playmaker he is as well. I mean, incredible competition for positions in that creative midfield role. Be interesting to see how he goes in a different club. He's almost, I wouldn't say a one-club man, but, he's been at Swansea so long. How's he going to get on in a different team? But yeah, good bit of business that from Coventry. They've got that depth still. They didn't lose half the players they were rumoured to. So, yeah, they've got every chance. I just think that I think he'll come unstuck tactically, and I might be well off it. In this one, I've gone 2-1, but as I said, it could go either way.
To be fair, I think you're right. He will come unstuck tactically. Like looking at the games that they've won, beat Bristol City 1-0. I don't rate Bristol City. They beat Blackburn Rovers 2-0. They're riddled with injury. Beat Watford 2-1. They're on a terrible run of form, although they did have that good game against Sunderland, but Sunderland looked absolutely stinky. Beat Swansea. Swansea had been on a terrible run of form. First big test of his management, really, and they lost to Leeds, but they only lost 2-0. But the massive caveat here for Coventry is their squad is ridiculously good. We said this right at the beginning of the season. They have a top 6 squad. Outside of Leeds, Burnley and Sheffield United, I'd say Coventry probably have the 4th best squad. I'd say it's actually better than Sunderland's. Sunderland's is just young and full of talent and potential. So Lampard should be getting a tune out of that lot. They really should.
No. Yeah, 100% agree with that. Just see how long before the momentum changes.
Yeah. Right, and on to a big one at the bottom. Although Oxford won't be getting troubled by the bottom of the table, they should be looking up to the playoffs, not down to the relegation milieu. It's Derby County versus Oxford United. Did you like that word?
Yeah, I did. I was impressed. Yeah, very good. You've been looking at the dictionary since we last recorded.
Yeah, I have one of those word a day calendars,
Yeah, can't wait for next week's recording. Oh.
I've gone 2-1 Oxford for this one. Yeah, they lost their last game to Burnley. Tight game.
Tight.
Burnley 1, Oxford 0. Other than that, that's the first game Rowett's lost in his 10 he's managed, and he's really bootstrapped Oxford up, but they've obviously been improved with a lot of injuries coming back, the likes of Dembele, Placheta. They've all come back now, and it's all firing. And I think, who's that fella they signed from Millwall? One of Rowett's boys. Can't think of his name right now. Bradshaw. Tom Bradshaw.
Oh, of course.
Tom Bradshaw in. What a player at this level.
Yeah.
I think astute business. They smashed it. And I talk about them very positively in that video. That's in the description. It's about the playoff chase, so check it out. And that's the plug over.
Yeah. I think we've been speaking positively about Oxford all season, even under Buckingham. I mean, I still think that he would have got a tune out of them. I think he would have turned things around if they didn't have the injuries. But hey, we'll never know. Rowett has obviously done a great job. Derby is an interesting one, isn't it? Obviously, they've sacked Paul Warne. Interesting timing straight after the end of the deadline. It's clear that John Eustace is likely to go there as well. I mean, I've got in-laws who are. Some of my in-law families are from West Yorkshire, so I get a bit of a smattering of Leeds, but also a lot of them come from Derby and are Derby fans as well. And I've been having a chat with them today, actually, about it. And there's quite some reliable sources that before the update this evening about him wanting to move back to the East Midlands where his family is. So there's a possibility. I mean, that would be a hell of a loss for Blackburn and say a lot about what's going on at Blackburn as much as what's going on at Derby, I guess.
I'd want to run a mile if my marquee signing at the window was Cordy Woodrow.
Yeah, well, I'd say Emmanuel Dennis maybe pipped it, but yeah, sure. They were pictured next to each other, weren't they? On the same time. But look, I think it's a really difficult one. I wouldn't say that Derby would have sacked Paul Warne unless they knew then at that time, unless they knew someone was coming in. So yeah, will he turn things around? I think their squad is down there, if I'm honest. I think their squad isn't great, and I think that the fans, they just never were on board with Paul Warne all season, I think, and it only took a bad run for things to really turn sour. Having said that, they have been in awful form. And if anyone's going to turn around, it'll be Eustace, but not on this one. Just to cut a long story short, I've gone exactly the same as you. Derby County 1, Oxford United 2.
Yeah, I think John Eustace would be a very, very good pickup from Derby.
Massive.
Really, he really would, but I don't think he'd be able to. I don't think he'll be able to get him out of it. He's not had a window. He'll have to cobble together parts, and Curtis Nelson's a massive loss for them. They haven't even got Sonny Bradley to turn to.
He's doing great bits at Wycombe by the looks of things, isn't he?
He's having a great time. Absolutely great time is Sonny Bradley. Fair play to him. Right, on to Norwich versus Preston North End.
Yeah, so I've gone 1-1. Now, I don't want to I'm not trying to be controversial, but I don't really rate Norwich. No. And I think that sometimes might sound a bit ridiculous considering their league position, but I alluded to it earlier. I just don't think, in terms of tactically, the way they're set up is particularly good. And I think the fact that they've got some incredible standout players has papered over a lot of cracks this season. Signs, and now, of course, Josh Sargent being back. But they've just not convinced me in many games. All right, the 5-1 drubbing of Swansea being maybe the exception. And they have had games where they've just suddenly thrown everything at it. But I think generally, tactically, setup-wise, they've just not convinced me. And feel free, Norwich fans, to come at me in the comments, but I'm not convinced, and for that reason I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And if they do, I don't give them much of a chance against some of the other teams that are in and around them either, just because I think that like I said, that it's those few players that are papering over the cracks for them. So yeah, and that's part of the reason why I've gone 1-1. Preston are, again, not been wholly convincing all season, but they've got some decent results of late. So I think, yeah, they could get a draw out of this one.
Yeah, so I've backed Norwich to win this one purely based on the fact that Josh Sargent is back. He scored 3-3 now. Yeah. He is vital to Norwich. Yes, I agree with you, and I said it in another shameless plug. It's in the comments section below. If you haven't watched it already, go check it out. I think Norwich are going to miss the playoffs as well. There are only 2 spots to go for right now. Josh Sargent is obviously a tremendous player at this level, but they're consistently inconsistent. 11 wins, 10 draws, 10 losses. They score a lot. They concede a lot. Borja Sainz has kind of gone off the boil as well. Preston, they're solid enough defensively. I think Story's out for a while. I think he's got a pretty nasty injury. But I've backed Norwich to win this one, 2-1, mainly because it's at home and their home comforts are much better, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, they're definitely more a home team than an away team, but we'll see.
We shall indeed. Plymouth Argyle versus Millwall. Now, Plymouth, they must feel like a dog with 2 dicks right now because they just beat Liverpool. That was also on the word today.
Was it? A phrase. Wow. What is this resource?
So they must feel great because they just beat Liverpool. It was a most Salah's Liverpool.
After beating Brentford as well that way.
Salah. Yeah, they've done really well.
Wow.
They've done so well. And now they've got to have Millwall at home. And this is Millwall that have won 3 on the spin after an incredibly streaky run of form. Remember those 4 back-to-back wins that propelled Millwall to the playoffs?
Yeah.
So they're now on 3 back-to-back wins after 12 games without a win.
4 if you include 2-0 against Leeds away from home in the Cup as well.
That was massive, yeah.
Which is pretty impressive. I know it might not be the same as 1-0 against Liverpool, but it's still pretty impressive.
Well, I've gone for a Millwall 1-0 here because I think Plymouth might have a bit of a if they're out celebrating on the bubbles all night.
Yeah, I've gone for a Plymouth win. I've gone for a 2-1, and I just feel things are turning. Maybe it's because every time I think that there is a team that is okay, well, at least, this team is almost guaranteed now that they're going to be down there. Every time I seem to think that.
You said it about
it
Millwall.
had been Plymouth. I've said it about Millwall. We've said it about numerous teams.
QPR
down there. There's no way. They have a resurgence, and I think that their new manager has clearly galvanised that team. And it's, they've got, despite the loss of players like Whittaker over the January window, I think they seem a different team. They're certainly not conceding anywhere near as much. Okay, they lost 5-0 at home to Burnley, but in the last 3 games at least, they've kept the scoreline down. And obviously, you're right, it could go one way or the other, that Liverpool result. Who knows? Them staying in the cup, however, long term might not be great for them. But in the short term, I think it will give them the boost they need to turn Millwall around in this one.
It's certainly good for everyone else in that relegation battle because right now, when you're in a relegation battle, the last thing you want is a build-up of fixtures. So, good for everyone else.
Yeah, them and Cardiff, of course, both still in the FA Cup. So, yeah, we shall see.
Well, that brings us on to the next team, which is it's Portsmouth versus Cardiff City, and this one is a massive 6-pointer with Portsmouth on 30 points, Cardiff on 31.
Yeah, I've gone 2-0 Cardiff. I think you're right, it is a massive game, and every time, again, I think Portsmouth were definitely one of those teams that we counted out for a long time. But obviously that's injury related as well. They've had some pretty awful injury record over this year that hasn't helped with a pretty thin squad anyway. Cardiff, who knows under Omar Rizal what type of Cardiff turn up. It's mad, isn't it? So I think though when they've played the teams down the bottom, so they beat Derby quite recently, they beat Swansea obviously in the Derby as well, that was confusing to say, and they drew against Stoke, sorry, that was in the cup, but they've done all right, so that's why I backed them to win this game. Pompey at home, not really got the Fratton Park effect that they were probably hoping to have at the start of the season. For me, Cardiff win it 2-0.
It's always tight at Fratton Park, and they put 3 past Stoke a couple of games ago at Fratton Park. You're going to think I'm crazy here. Gone Pompey 3, Cardiff 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've gone for a proper ding-dong here. I think there's going to be goals. As you said, don't know which Cardiff City are going to turn up. Really don't.
No. I mean, they both score and concede quite a lot, so you could well be right. So It's not like neither of them really keep it that tight. Pompey better in that regard than Cardiff recently, but that's not saying much as they lost 7-0 against Leeds in their last game. Could well be.
Yeah, if Leeds can score 7, why can't Pompey score 3? I guess we'll see. We shall see. Right, on to Swansea versus Sheffield Wednesday. I've gone 2-0 to Wednesday for this one because I think Swansea are getting dragged into a relegation battle regardless of what charity Bristol City will be giving them.
Yeah, a similar. I've gone for a 2-1 Wednesday win, and I agree with you. I think they're about 9 points off at the moment, but you just have to look at their form in recent weeks. Okay, as you said, they've got the win against Bristol City in, and it's always tight between those two, so it will happen occasionally. And of course, a very good signing that. Well, you would say O'Brien would be an excellent signing if they hadn't lost Grimes in the same window. So we'll see. But it is still a very good signing. So whether that steadies the ship on its own, I don't know. But it might help. But yeah, I've gone 2-1. Sheffield Wednesday all over the place off the pitch. But Danny Roll is just about keeping it together on the pitch. You know, yeah, I think they're kind of, for me, their playoff push might be finished, if I'm honest, but they're certainly going to be quite a successful season when you look at where they were this time last year.
Yeah, they never had the striker for a playoff push. They play really well up to the final third of the pitch, then there's nothing there. There's just nothing there. Losing Matt Grimes is a massive, massive loss. And then, you bring in Lewis O'Brien, who's barely kicked a ball for like 3 years since joining Forest. He's not the answer. He's a wonderful footballer, but he's not the answer, is he?
Right. We've been playing in the States, hasn't he? I don't know how well he did over there, but don't really keep up with the MLS. But
unless you're playing for Inter Miami, you're not playing with a good caliber of player. It's awful. It's only marginally better than the Saudi league, which is awful. Cristiano Ronaldo is having a whale of a time at 40 years old over there.
Yeah. Raking it in against substandard defenders, although they have just invested in some pretty young players who you might question what their ambitions in football are, but
making money. Well, that's what their ambitions.
I was trying to say it subtly, but fine. Yeah. That one.
Yeah. I wonder if I could still make it over in Saudi. Possibly could.
I think that the standard might be slightly better than you think. Maybe just a bit.
I'll stick to trying to make it as a professional in Scotland. I'm sure I can.
Any other countries you want to have a pop at just before we move on to the next game? Or we done?
Well, funnily enough, when I moved to Scotland many years ago, qualifying through my Scottish grammar, I actually made the pledge that within 2 years I'll break into the Scottish national team, and then I promptly broke my ankle.
That's
6 months after moving up. That was the end of my football.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
of course.
That's what did it.
That was, I'm decent. I'm a decent footballer, believe it or not.
Okay.
I wanted to believe him.
Right, let's talk about some non-decent footballers. Watford versus Leeds United. I've gone for a 4-1 Leeds win here. Watford, yes, they got that draw against Sunderland, but ultimately they were winning. Sunderland really did not turn up for that game.
Yeah, I mean, I've not gone quite as big as you. I've gone for 2-0. I think Watford are on a very poor run of form. But look, they did put 2 goals past Sunderland at the Stadium of the Light, and if it wasn't for a last-minute equaliser, that would have won that game, which would have been an excellent result and helped turn things around. I don't know whether there's still questions off the pitch in terms of manager situation there, whether that's died down a little bit now, but you never know with Pozzo. I think he was looking at there was rumours that he's now trying to sell the club again. But yeah, it's a bit like Cardiff. It's a bit of a circus, isn't it, off the pitch? So there's always that. But yeah, I mean, Leeds, they're too good for the league at the moment. They don't show any signs of the bottle that they had last season. But there's still time. There is still time. And of course, they did lose in the cup. So you never know. But yeah, 2-0 Leeds.
Yeah, not only is their squad like a Premier League level squad right now,
mid-table. Maybe that's a bit much.
Well, I'd say it's lower.
Yeah,
lower
not anymore.
Half Premier League squad. It's a very good squad. There is a chasing pack of 3 teams that could pit them to the title. I also did an Autos video. I'm going to put that in the description below. Check it out. It's a good one. It looks like it's been really enjoyed. Leeds fans, please enjoy that. And Watford fans, I actually discuss you and your playoff aspirations in the playoff chasing video. Check that out. It's in the description below. Lots of self-plugs here. Their team's really good. It's really good. And Watford's, it's quite shambolic, but the players still seem to back Tom Cleverley. The fans back Tom Cleverley. But this is at home, and this is a Leeds who are in ridiculous form. Forget about the cup. The cup doesn't matter. But this Leeds team, they're insane, and I don't think they're going to bottle it. Not at all. No,
me neither.
Not a chance. But onto another team chasing automatics. It's Burnley versus Hull City.
I've gone for 1-1. I think again, Hull, another team that right. I don't think either of us wrote them off. Actually, I think both of us said they weren't going to be going down because their squad was too good, and they had the money to invest in January, and boy,
this new team is also really good as well.
And their third team that they bought as well in January looks quite good too. So yeah, my God, but yeah, look, I think they've got a really good manager at the helm. He's got a point to prove as well back in the Championship. So, and I just, we've said it a million times when it comes to Burnley. Scott Parker tends to do the job with teams who are equipped to do very, very well. And so it's really difficult to judge him. But he's certainly not been steamrolling teams. Apart from that Plymouth game, and again,
and
that was an absolute
Luton. Don't forget the Luton game.
Oh, I've forgotten about that. We'll just leave that one to side. But I mean, sort of this end of the season in particular.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, look, I think Hull have had some great results. The 3-0 against Sheffield United stands out, doesn't it? I mean, excellent result. So I back them to get a point here, but it'll be low scoring because it's Burnley and they tend to keep things pretty tight, right? So yeah, 1-1.
Yeah, I've gone 1-0 here. I am still shocked to see that Burnley have only conceded 9 goals this season. It's ridiculous. James Trafford has been stepping up. Like, whatever you think about James Trafford as a person, cocky, arrogant, loads of different things you can level at the kid, he's a very good goalkeeper. And Burnley are very tight as well. I just can't see Hull scoring against them. So many have tried, but at the same time, Burnley aren't going to score that many. So I've just gone for a 1-0 Burnley, really. Although I'm interested to see how the new kid from Sporting gets on. Was it Marcus Edwards? Talented player.
Yeah, very good.
Talented.
Loan with an option, isn't it, Marcus Edwards?
An obligation.
If they go up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one. But yeah, excellent bit of business.
It could be the difference maker, in that race for automatics. I don't think it will be. I actually discussed that in the autos video. Check it out in the description below. I just do this because I know people tune in for like little snippets. They want to hear what we say about their team. So I'm just dropping it in each time. So when someone skips through, they'll get the plug once again.
Listen to it, or I'll keep saying it every time. Listen to it now. The hard sell. Right,
it's in the description.
Is it?
Just listen to it.
They might be just dropping it now. I've got to listen to this the whole time.
Hull have still been quite streaky. They picked up a lot. They had that win against Millwall, beat Sheffield United, which no one saw coming. But other than that, draws and losses, really. Lost to QPR, lost to Stoke, which is really was a really crazy one that no one really saw coming. But
lots of players to bed in still. But yeah, no, I think they'll be fine. But you're right. Certainly not consistent yet.
No, not at all. And let's see someone else in the autos race. Sheffield United versus Middlesbrough. And Middlesbrough are quite leaky.
That's one word for it. Yeah, they've been doing terribly recently, haven't they? Absolutely terribly.
Yeah, I'm not backing them to get a win here. I've gone Sheffield United 3, Middlesbrough 2. I think it is going to be a case of Sheffield United being like, we're going to score one more than you. Because Borough, they can score, but at the back, they've looked hella
awful.
Shaky.
Yeah. I mean, I think that game against Sunderland for the neutral was excellent to watch. I don't think Ryan Giles will want to watch it again, but he actually, to be fair to him, he did have a good game before that point. But that's probably
good own goal.
A great finish.
Off a brilliant performance.
Right, yeah. So I think Hull and Luton fans would find that quite funny. But yeah, look, I think you're right. But they've been doing, bar that win against West Brom, when West Brom was still, I think maybe that was first game under Tony Mowbray. I think it was. So, bar that win, they have been absolutely appalling. Great moments in games, don't get me wrong, great moments in games, and the same was true against Sunderland. Some of their attacking play was excellent. The goal that took the lead was brilliant. But as you said, so leaky at the back. They've conceded so many goals. And for that reason, I've gone for 2-1 Sheffield United. It's the obvious one at home. I think that Sheffield United haven't been quite the consistent team at home when it comes to shutting out goals, but they're still finding ways to win games pretty convincingly other than that whole game. So 2-1 for me.
Interesting. And yes, another team racing for the autos. It's Sunderland versus Luton Town.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're doing this as neutrals. I'm sure people don't realise that we're Luton fans. We've never made it clear at all. I'm not. I think. Look, I'll say this more. We've got we'll have a preview out. So please have a look for that. See, look, I've made a plug as well. It'll probably be in the description, I imagine, Ollie. Yeah. So I'll talk more about it then. But I do think that if Luton do get a result, that'll be that could be the signal of things moving. I know that this has been said before after a Sunderland game, but I really do think that if Luton can get that result, that would put a big marker down for things moving in the right direction. I just can't see it against a Sunderland team with the players that they've got. It's just not fair. It's not fair. I've gone for a Sunderland 2-1 win. I think Luton will make it interesting, and I think that they'll show a lot more character than they have done in earlier games away from home. And obviously coming off the back of getting a point away at Sheffield Wednesday as well, hanging on a bit towards the end. But I think it will be a relatively positive evening for Luton, but I don't see them getting anything from this game. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I just can't see it. Sunderland's team is just too good, too quick on the counter against Luton's slow defence. Just can't see it. 2-1.
Yeah, it's crazy how slow Luton's defence is.
Yeah. And how quick Sunderland
I've gone optimistic, well, relatively optimistic. And this isn't completely my heart ruling it. I genuinely think Sunderland can be got at if you get your game plan right. I've gone Sunderland 1, Luton Town 1. And that is partly inspired by seeing Watford getting a draw there and almost escaping with all 3 points, to be honest. From the Stadium of Light, yes, Sunderland are very good at the Stadium Light, and I think Luton could nab a lead there and then probably bottle it right at the end. Potentially, it'll be hard to hold on to it, as Luton have shown many, many times. They cannot hold on to leads. So I'm being relatively optimistic here. I do think Sunderland are going to have a wobble. That's not to say that I'm not rating Sunderland. I don't think they still have an outside shot against autos. I do think that draw against Watford has harmed their shot at the autos. But I think they'll be the team to beat in the playoffs. And I say that in the video, in the description, both in the autos and the playoff chase video. So check it out, Sunderland fans. But I think for this one, I think Luton could have a go and will look energised in attack.
Yeah. Do you know what? Sorry to interrupt. I think Sunderland might do it, for the autos. I've been with you all season about Sunderland. But the signings that they've made in January, Lefebvre being the obvious one, but not the only one as well. And they're just, watching their relentless drive to win games. They had a poor game against Watford, you're right, by their standards, or by most standards. I just have a feeling that they might. I haven't had a look at the run-in, but Sheffield United look like they can be got at. And what are they, 5 points off currently? I still think they might do it. But even if they do make the playoffs, it would be pretty tough for anyone to compete with them there.
They do struggle against teams at the bottom. Like Plymouth have been their bogey team
you're right.
all season. I think maybe, I don't want to say there's an attitude there, but they probably assume, this team's like near the bottom. We just roll over them. It's absolutely fine. We don't need to bring our A game. And that's what happened with Plymouth. And Plymouth have taken 4 points off them this season.
They have.
Yeah. Whereas now everyone knows Luton are absolute trash. So maybe their players will not have the full-blooded, relentless play style. I guess we'll see. Players.
I'll
might
take
get
any.
rested.
I'll take any nugget of optimism that you've got going. Spare,
But for now, it has to start now for Luton. They have to springboard off this game into Sheffield United, and then the games after that, because otherwise, no ifs or buts, Luton Town are down. But look, we're going to talk about it more in the Luton Town preview. Check it out. It's in the description, as Ryman said. I don't plug anything here. Right, on to West Brom versus Blackburn Rovers. This one feels quite derby-ish, doesn't it?
In what way?
Are they close? They seem geographically close.
Not really. I mean, they're on that side of the country in the West Brom's in the West Midlands. No, not Northern. West Midlands. That sort of name gives it away. They're local. West Brom and Wolves gives you a clue as to is the local derby there. Yeah, Blackburn in Lancashire. So but
I thought
nice try.
Lancashire and Yorkshire were quite close. Wasn't there a war?
Lancashire and Yorkshire are next to each other, but West Brom is neither in Lancashire or Yorkshire.
Where is it then?
It's in the West Midlands.
It's in the West. I thought the West Midlands was Yorkshire.
And that's geography.
Oh my, you are right. Okay, I apologise. If anyone's still watching this video at this point, this is I can't. Just please aim all of your comments at
I
Ollie.
need to see a map.
You too right. You need to see a map. This is like Donald Trump's America-style education system being passed on here.
Everything north of
is the
12 of the M1. I don't really know.
Maybe I'll give you an excuse. Maybe you're confused because the Hawthorns is technically the highest football ground in England. So maybe you thought just because it's higher, it's northern. I'm trying to help you. You just say that. Just say that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Dig me out this hole.
It's a great ground, by the way. I love going there, even though Luton very rarely, if ever, get a result there. It's a really good ground.
Come to see the Boiler Man.
I do. I swear to God. Every time. Love it. Okay. I've forgotten. 1-0 West Brom. 1-0 West Brom, yeah. Blackburn have been doing poorly, and I think they may well not have a manager at this point. I know Eustace said, Eustace's answer was very concerning, wasn't it, for any Blackburn fans, that at the moment he'll still be in charge at West Brom. I mean, that doesn't fill you with confidence. I think he's all but gone. Yeah, it's. I mean, on paper, if you were to just look at that and go, you've got a manager who is, managing a team in Blackburn currently in the playoffs, on 45 points to go to Derby, who are third bottom on 28 points. You just go, what on earth are you talking about? Of course he's not, but yeah, clearly lots of stuff off the pitch, lots of injuries still. I'm going to get West Brom to nick it. They've not been great either, but yeah, 1-0.
Yeah, same, 1-0. Pretty much same reasoning. Blackburn, they've been on a horrendous run of form. They're ironically in such a great position in the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to maintain it. Cauley Woodrow, terrible signing. Who's the other fella that they signed?
Emmanuel Dennis. Forest.
Terrible signing as well. His best football was years ago. He hasn't played football well since, pretty much went off the boil as soon as he went to Nottingham Forest. Last good season was in the Prem with Watford.
Yeah.
Not good, but I guess they're both backups to Gay, aren't they? So it's not the ends of the world. They got a long injury list. It's not going good for them, and they're going to lose their manager. So, 1-0 West Brom. Mowbray Magic.
Yeah, easy win that one.
Right, so easy win? Is that going to be your lock of the week?
It wasn't going to be actually, but I'm now thinking about it. It probably makes the most sense for it to be. No, I've gone for a Cardiff away win against Portsmouth to be my lock of the week. I think it's going to be a really interesting week for those bottom teams. No more so there, but I think Cardiff are going to pull away further with a 2-0 win.
Okay, fair play. My lock of the week, I'm going Sheffield Wednesday 2, Swansea 0. Swansea, downward spiral, and they're going to find themselves in a relegation battle, whether they like it or not, because teams at the bottom, with the exception of Luton, are picking up form right now. Those are my thoughts anyway. But thank you everyone to watch. Thank you to watch. But we thank you to watch. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching our show. Remember, subscribe. We've got loads of championship content. Check in the description. I don't know if I actually mentioned it during the show, but there's plenty of championship stuff that we've done there. Race for the autos, race for promotion, race for the playoffs even. So check it out. There's going to be the battle for relegation dropping soon as well. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. You can find loads more championship content and a roundtable where we discuss all the championship games at the end of the week. But thank you very much for watching, and whoever you support, have a great week.